Good evening, ladies and gentlemen in the US and Canada, and a good morning to India. Ian MacLeod has been in the real estate industry since 1994. Ian started out with Intrawest, Mammoth Development in California, and a top ski instructor where he attained his level 4 CSIA. If you don't know, the level 4 is a senior ski instructor and it's an expert. He's internationally recognized by the Canadian Ski Instructor Alliance. From there, he formed his own real estate marketing project and managed numerous projects in British Columbia and Washington State. In 2003, Ian began working with S&P Destination Properties and directed several projects for Lowe Corporation in Seattle and Los Angeles. From there, Ian went to Kailua-Kona, Hawaii to work for the Lyle Anderson Group. Ian continues to manage real estate projects in British Columbia and Hawaii, besides owning and manages luxuryhomes.com, which is one of the top luxury real estate websites in the world. Ian is heavily involved with AREA, which is Asian Real Estate Association of America, as a co-founder and board member of the Vancouver chapter and a board of director with AREA Global Developments and Projects. Ian is currently the sales director for the residences at the Mandarin Oriental Honolulu and involved in many prestigious developments in the world. Welcome, Ian.
Wow, thank you. And thank you, Molly. That was great. I haven't heard that bio. That's an older one, but I haven't heard it. So it's kind of, wow, I've been at this business a long time.
Yes, you sure have a lot of experience that we can learn from. Yeah.
Well, nice to meet everybody. Molly, how did you want to start this?
Yes. In the world, there are many questions, but I think Canada is one of the countries that the residences and people in the India that would like to know the Canadian real estate, as well as maybe if there's a possible of golden visa or anything that they can do as an investment. So that's what we would love for you to tackle, if possible.
Sure. And I guess what we can do is I can just sort of give a general overview of the real estate market in Canada. It is a big market, but I'll touch on that. And then if there's any questions or if there's any comments anybody has, we can open, I guess, the venue for that. Is that okay? Okay, wonderful. Well, again, hello everybody, and good morning in India. I'm very excited to be working with Molly with IFBIC, and I think we are also getting even more excited on our trip over to India in September. Looks like we're scheduled to be there September 15th. Be very exciting. That's my first time to India, so I'm looking forward to it. So generally, the real estate market in Canada has seen a little bit of an adjustment. The major markets are seeing a slowdown of the very busy and very intense COVID market in the last two and a half years. And I think it's quite normal in North America that we saw a lot of the major markets see a exodus a little bit from the downtown cores, and people were buying in the outlying areas, whether it was, in the suburbs or even some of the resort sectors. So we definitely saw that in Canada as well. We saw the main markets like in Toronto or Vancouver. A lot of people were leaving those areas and going to the outlying areas. So we saw also, though, regardless of people leaving the Vancouver, Toronto markets, we saw hyper growth in those markets as well. So it was a very interesting phenomenon how the downtown cores were literally on fire with the real estate, but also the outside areas in some of the resorts or some of the, like I said, the suburbs were also doing very well. And a lot of that was also because we have a strong immigration policy into Canada, as probably most of this audience knows. We see a lot of Indians come into the major markets, especially in Vancouver and Toronto. And so they really help buoy the real estate market in those areas. And as well, we also the Ukrainian situation going on. I didn't realize this, Molly. Before I jumped on this Zoom, I actually looked at the numbers, and Canada, outside of Ukraine and Russia, has the highest population of Ukrainians living in another country, and it's Canada. Well, we got almost 1.4 million Ukrainians living here. So Canada also has a very good immigration policy, whether it's for the Indians coming over or whether it's for the Ukrainians who are trying to flee Ukraine, or wherever they're coming from. We see a lot of Asians coming here as well from other parts of the world, like Hong Kong and Taiwan and China. So, with Canada's welcoming immigration, that really helps also put the real estate in a favorable position, especially in some of these markets. We see a lot of tech industry people coming here from some of the Asian countries, as I mentioned, and also from India and other countries over there, to really establish themselves in the tech industry and grow with the industry that's here. So Vancouver, over the last year or two, has seen a tremendous amount of young tech people coming who are educated and schooled over in their home countries, and are coming here to work with some of the big tech firms. And what we're seeing, Molly, is we're seeing some of the big companies like Google or Amazon, they're setting up headquarters in Vancouver and Toronto now, because they know that a lot of these smart young tech people are coming from other countries, and they can come to Canada relatively easily. So that's why we're seeing them setting up headquarters and offices in some of the markets, so that they can attract these young tech people, and that they can work for some of these large companies and get established. And then, maybe eventually they can get into the US if the immigration starts to open up there a little bit for them. But one of the things I really noticed over the last few months when I was in Vancouver is how many young tech people are living in Vancouver. And I've heard it's also the same thing in Toronto. So I was doing a little research as well, and we are, despite the market slowing down a little bit, the banks are forecasting that we will see some price drops starting now and through to Q1 of 2023. And, it's kind of expected. The market is normalizing only because it was so accelerated and it's so extreme before. Now we're just seeing a normalization of it. So the market is still strong, but we do anticipate some price drops. We've already seen a few markets drop their prices, maybe a couple points, but we could see them go further over the next couple of quarters. So we might see some price drops as high as 10 or 15, or maybe even higher in some markets, just as the market normalizes. But regardless, we really anticipate it won't create a big problem in the future because of the immigration that's coming in to these markets. And I was looking at some stats. The Toronto market is anticipating a positive immigration next year of over 400,000 people, and that's a huge number. So that will really put pressure on not only the real estate market, but also on the rental market. And the rental market is so robust in some of these markets because they need these rental condominiums or rental apartments for these young tech people coming here. So the markets in Canada, I think the real estate markets in Canada will continue to be strong because of immigration. But the other factor is that we're a resource company, a resource country, as most people know. And one of our biggest exports to the US is oil. We are the largest exporter of a foreign country of oil to the US. We account for 51% of that oil export to the US, which a lot of people don't realize that. Russia is 8%, just to give you another percentage. Saudi Arabia is around, I think, 10%. But Canada, we're the biggest oil exporter. So that also helps us from a market perspective as well. So, we are seeing adjustments in the market. We are seeing, though, opportunities because prices are going to drop because they were so accelerated for 2.5 years. And the other thing is Indians love coming to Canada because of the immigration, but once they get here, they find it's easy to assimilate into the culture. A lot of the banks are set up for Indian customers. A lot of the businesses. There's so many, Indians wanting to move to Canada because of that. It is a little colder here, but they tolerate that. And we find that the Indians really assimilate into our business and our culture, and we welcome them. And so it's so great to have the opportunity to work with IFBIC and present, not only, real estate market updates and let them know what's going on here, but also to, if anybody's thinking of coming over, we are getting things set up, as you know, Molly, to help some of our Indian members with IFBIC think about maybe moving to Canada and getting residency as well. So we're working on that. And I think that sort of is sort of a general overview of what's happening here in Canada. I talk to industry leaders across Canada pretty much every other day. So it's great that I can pull on information if anybody has, they want to know, well, what's going on in Lethbridge, Alberta, or what's going on in Moncton, New Brunswick. I can pull information from all those markets. Okay. So hopefully that gives a little bit of overview of what's happening in Canada here with the real estate market. Should we just go into any questions, or what's your thoughts, Molly?
Yes, thank you for the presentation. That helps a lot because each one of us is focused on our localized states. So anybody have any questions for Ian?
Yes, Samir Kela sir is having, he has raised the hand.
Yes.
Yeah, good evening, Ian. Wonderful presentation. Thank you. Thank you, Molly ma'am, for inviting Ian to the IFBIC platform. Ian, I have two questions. One, which all markets do you see in Canada which are expected to do well in next 1.5 to 2 years? Number one. Number two, with the rising interest rates, how do you see the rental yields coming down and its impact on the real estate market in Canada?
Okay, I'll try to start with that question first. We are, because of what I said is happening in the major markets with the slowdown in real estate, that is primarily driven by the increase in interest rates. The Bank of Canada raised interest rates 3 times now over the last 6 months, and this has been the biggest increase in 40 years. So we haven't seen this type of increase in interest rates since the 80s, the early 80s, right? So it's been a long time that we've seen this, but part of it, I think, is necessary because the market was so overinflated. And, the average person can't afford to buy a condo, let alone a home, in some of the major markets like Vancouver and Toronto. So what the interest rates are going to do is they will start to push the prices down eventually. As I said, we'll see, some of the prices starting to move down in Q3, Q4 of this year, and definitely Q1 of 23. But regardless, what it will do is it will help some of the young people that want to live in Vancouver and Toronto buy real estate. Because right now they just can't. Even if they've got a great job with one of the tech firms, the cost of buying a condo in Vancouver, and I'll just give you sort of an average price here, like a 1-bedroom condo, they're $800,000 to $1 million Canadian, and not everybody can afford that. So there's also, besides the interest rates, rising to correct and normalize things, the government of Canada is also putting in a few new programs to try to encourage home ownership in some of the big markets. So they're creating incentives on deposit structures and loans and things like that to help these young people get into the market. So we're the correction is a necessary thing that's going to have some pain and suffering for some people, but on the other hand, it's going to help stabilize the price momentum and velocity we saw. So it's going to be a good thing in the long run. Sorry, and what was the first question? I just forgot.
Which all markets do you see in Canada coming up for the next 1.5 to 2 years, maybe a shorter duration to a medium duration to invest in?
So are you saying, you're asking which markets do we see demand or
demand coming up? Yeah.
Yeah. It'll continue to be, again, it's hard to have a perfect crystal ball, but it'll continue to be the Vancouver area, and it'll continue to be Toronto. But I'll generalize it. The Vancouver area we sometimes call GVA, which is Greater Vancouver Area, and that also includes parts of that whole metropolis. And Surrey is a good example. Surrey is a suburb of the GVA, and coincidentally, that's where a lot of Indians live. And so we are seeing huge increases in population in Surrey. So I think that we're going to see opportunity in that area, Surrey, but also in Vancouver in general. In Toronto, they call it the GTA, which is the Greater Toronto Area, and we'll see people moving into the downtown area as well, because prices did drop a little more in the GTA, or sorry, in the downtown Toronto area, but we will see, I think, people wanting to buy in Toronto downtown so they can work for some of the big tech companies or some of the big financial institutions there. But we also will see in some of the outlying areas, we're continuing to see growth in those areas. Now, the one city that I think is undervalued is Montreal. Montreal is still a very large city, a couple million people live there, but it was really, the focus for a lot of people was Vancouver and Toronto. I believe Montreal is the opportunity for people to come in, and they're also trying to grow the tech business there. And there's a lot of good industry in Toronto. Like I always plug Cirque du Soleil because I love them. They're from Toronto, so their headquarters, or sorry, from Montreal, so their headquarters are based there. But regardless, I really think because of the lower property valuations in Montreal, I think Montreal will show huge opportunities for appreciation over the next few years. There are other areas that we might see some increases in real estate as well. Like I'm in British Columbia right now in sort of the central area, and there's a town here, or city called Kelowna, and it is also booming very heavily right now as well for a lot of people wanting to move in here. My neighbors that I see moving to Kelowna are from Ontario. They're from the lower mainland in Greater Vancouver area. But regardless, we're seeing pockets like Kelowna that are really doing quite well, including we're seeing a lot of more ethnicities coming into this area that we haven't seen before. So getting back to, just that, I think Montreal is the opportunity for a big city. And I think there's lots of little pocket areas in all the other provinces that are going to see growth as well. And all because it's driven by immigration, and it's driven by strong economy in tech and the oil business.
And just to add to this thing, one sub part of it, see, in 2008, we saw subprime crisis, which hit the financial markets in a big way, right? Do you see with the rising interest rates any threat of that thing coming up in the global markets or in the American or in the Canadian markets, which can, say, hit any of the banks or something of that sort?
Well, let me just talk about the subprime. I mean, I was in the US working when the subprime hit, and it was horrendous. I was working on a large project in Los Angeles. And, that was, nobody ever thought it would hit that hard. Coincidentally, while we're impacted heavily by the US economy and the market, Canada really never saw the big crash that the US have. And mostly because we have 5 chartered banks here that have a little bit more conservative lending policy when it comes to mortgages and loans and things like that. So you didn't see, those type of subprime mortgage opportunities that the US saw with some of their banks. And that whole thing collapsed. In Canada, we were just more stabilized, generally speaking, but we definitely were affected. But we just didn't see those banks crashing like they did in the US. And also with what's happening now with the interest rates rising, the banks are all behind it. People are going to adjust. It's just, and it's going to establish Canada as a better, a better place to invest, just because of these rising rates are going to help just sort of stabilize things, stabilize the momentum and the velocity we've seen over the last little while. But one thing that's so great being from Canada is, while we do have conservative banks, there's some of the best banks in the world. In fact, a lot of the Canadian banks are also in the US. So I'll give you an example, like TD Bank. It's one of our 5 chartered banks, and they have a pretty big presence, especially East Coast in the US. And I don't know today, but I remember a stat 2 years ago. They were at that time the 5th or 6th largest bank in the US. So we're going to see more and more Canadian banks starting to go into the US as well, like RBC and Scotiabank, et cetera. And I think, like their policy with like I said, loaning and mortgages is so conservative, generally speaking. It'll be a good thing. And I think, we'll just have a better economy for it in the long run. But again, as I said, it's driven by immigration, it's driven by oil, it's driven by, we're a big resource country, and we will always have that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. I think Wendy had a question before. You still have your question or no?
I do. Thank you so much, Ian. I've learned so much today, and Canada is definitely an area I've had great interest in. I am a member of CREA, and a great organization there. You guys put a lot of tools and resources into your agents' hands. But what I wanted to ask, you mentioned that you're a project director. Is that correct?
Yeah, so that's correct. Sometimes
Okay.
I have multiple hats, so but that's correct,
Okay,
Wendy.
awesome. So my question is, with this relationship with IFBIC on perhaps maybe your current project or future projects, is there an opportunity to do like maybe some exclusive pre-launch or exclusive releases to IFBIC, like maybe before it goes to the general public or anything like that? Or are those arrangements that could be made with this type of partnership?
Yeah, absolutely. And coincidentally, and I didn't really want to get into too much detail, but I'll get into a little bit. I'm currently negotiating a big project just north of Montreal. And I mentioned Montreal previously, that I think it's the undervalued opportunity in Canada as far as the metropolitan center goes. So I'm going to hopefully be launching this project north of Montreal in probably 4 or 5 months. So the timing is great that I should be able to figure out how to give some kind of exclusive opportunity to get in early at the best price before prices start to raise up at some point. And two, it's good timing with our trip over to India in September. So I'll be able to have information at that point when we go over to India and present some opportunities like this. And I've got some other opportunities as well around Canada and the US, so that we can put together a package of what we think are some of the great opportunities that some of our IFBIC members will want to look at.
Okay, so to expand that a little further, I would suggest that maybe we have a broker opt-in call before the trip, so we can equally learn about your project, and as we meet individuals, we can share those opportunities while they're working together as a team. I am a team leader of this amazing trip, so I really want to add value to not only the developers that are participating, but also to the folks that are taking time out of their valuable schedules to travel and to meet with us. So really want to create value there, not just for real estate, but for all businesses.
And as we discussed previously, there's a chance that we may be meeting with you on, a number of different opportunities in Vancouver coming up at some point, probably in a few weeks. So I think that's a great time. Everything is falling into place for us to work with IFBIC, work with yourself, Wendy, and our network to present great opportunities to everybody that's involved with us.
Okay, awesome. And we do have some great news coming up to share with IFBIC for Jamaica that we're collaborating on together. So we want to make sure that those opportunities are available as well. The last question that I had in regards to Canada, is there an event coming up that perhaps we can bring a trade delegation from India of investors to come visit either British Columbia, Vancouver, or you mentioned Montreal? Could we do an inbound trade mission to Canada of interested parties from around the world?
Absolutely. For sure, we can set up something for Montreal. And also, coincidentally, with my role with ARIA and ARIA Vancouver, we are organizing a developer or a real estate opportunity event November 6th. And we're having a lot of very significant real estate industry people coming to this event. So for example, the keynote speaker is Anthony Chan. So I don't know if everybody knows Anthony, but he's a speaker that's regularly on CNN, all the major news networks out of the US, and he's an economist, and he's really on top of what's happening in the real estate market. So he has made himself available to come to our event in Vancouver to be that keynote speaker. So we're going to have many other ones like him. So I can get information regarding November 6th in Vancouver for coming and seeing what's available, not only in the Vancouver market, but in other markets outside of Vancouver. And then we can work at getting, for sure, a Montreal event. Montreal is an amazing city. If you're not familiar with it, it's French Canadian. So people do speak French there. You feel like you're in Europe when you go to Montreal. So it's got a lot of interesting nuances that make it so unique compared to the rest of Canada.
Je parle français un peu, monsieur.
Ah. Same with me. Moi aussi. I used to speak French much better when I was younger, but I've lost a lot of it, but hopefully it'll start to come back to me.
Thank you so much, Wendy and Ian. Amrish has a question or comment.
So, good morning. My question is that we already have a very good relationship with the Canada, especially Haryana and Punjab. They are, having wonderful relationship with the Canada. So, how do you see that, industrial opportunities with other parts of India through the IFBIC? Because we have been trying our level best to build a relationship. And we as a team believe that when there is a monetization, there is a better way of, improving the relationship between two countries. So what role we can play, and what should we do so that we can have a wonderful relationship with each other? And I think when we can create the industry, we can we will be having a region to interact with each other on the regular note. I think we will be having a better relationship, and we will be contributing in the betterment of both the nations. So that's the thing I'm looking for, and I'm looking to host you all with my team. IFBIC is having a pleasure, and thank you to Molly that something is coming in India, and definitely there will be lots of things going to the other parts of the world too. So that's my question. How do you see that industrial opportunity in other parts of the states apart from Haryana and Canada? Haryana and Punjab, sorry.
And Molly, do you want to jump in on some of that, or do you want me to just
go ahead and tackle it.
Well, so I see a huge opportunity with IFBIC. It's a way of formalizing and creating a structure that allows us to work with IFBIC and all of the business people in India. I've never seen anything like this, and just the work that's gone into building this. I know both of you have been working on this. It's an amazing accomplishment to have this structure set up. And there's so many different organizations all over the world, but I've never really seen anything that's really focused on bridging gaps between North America business and India business. And it's bilateral. It's not just, hey, let's do business in North America. It's like, hey, we want to take business from North America into India and figure that out. And I think this is just the start of something big. This is, as we say in Canada, the tip of the iceberg. I think there's a massive amount of business opportunity, not only in real estate, but other sectors. And it can be just, trade, or it can be services, or it can be technology, or it can be anything that whatever we have there, we will make it work. I know Molly fairly well over the last few months and going back a couple of years, but I know that Molly has a way of getting things done. And I like to get things done too. And my network and Molly's network into the US and Canada is quite extensive. And I think that IFBIC opportunity will really allow us to now present our networks a wonderful portal of business opportunities in India. And as I said, vice versa. And I'm very excited about this. I'm all in to make this work with everybody here. And then I've met Wendy recently as well, mostly through phone calls. And, she's got some amazing things happening down in the Florida area, but as she alluded to earlier, Jamaica, and we've got some great opportunities down there that I think are going to present themselves. And then Molly and I have been talking about a number of other businesses, from banking systems to resource opportunities with even water. In Canada has Canada has not only some of the best water in the world, but some of the biggest water reserves. And we have some opportunities just on that alone that we want to present over to our friends at IFBIC. So like I said, this is just the tip of the iceberg. I'm extremely excited. And I think that, 5 years, 10 years from now, we're going to look back and we're going to go, this is such a valuable relationship. We've got a lot of great people we work with. We've got relationships that are cemented and they're doing great business. And I'm seeing a very positive upside for everything involved with IFBIC.
Thank you so much. That means a lot coming from you, since you're a world traveler and you've done so much all over the world, especially with prestigious developments and dealing with a lot of big companies. Mayul has some questions that he would like to ask.
Thanks, Molly. Hi, Ian. Thanks a lot for briefing us on the Canada real estate scenario. I don't have a question, but just a talk, just a briefing of the Indian real estate market. I'm an architect by profession and practicing architect, and based out of Bangalore in India, which is the key hub of real estate. So I think Canada, yes, as you talked about tech industry, I think it got the best VFX studios and animation colleges which are there. So a lot of people from Bangalore who are into animation, they travel to Canada for the VFX studios and animation graduation. In Indian scenario, yes, I would like to continue what Wendy was also saying. It's a good opportunity in India with IFBIC. And there is a huge scope in various states over here. It's a large subject to discuss in India. And there are various sectors because there are a lot of highways which are coming up. So there is a shift from tier 1 to tier 2 cities, and a lot of tech people are trying to invest in tier 2 cities because the land rates, the investments are pretty low, and the fetching of the very high income. So would love to meet you in September, and as Wendy mentioned, would love to have a discussion on exclusive projects which you can, or investments which we can get in with the help of IFBIC in India, and look forward for that great meeting. So thanks.
Wonderful. And thank you for that, Meyer. I also have a question. Do you have a lot of medals behind you? Did you do some great athletic accomplishments?
So my daughter is into athletics and other stuff, so I'm just sitting in her room. but yeah, I do have medals in my office, which is from international and national awards for best architecture designs. We do green building designs also. So that's right. Where.
Yeah. I just want to touch on one thing. Because Canada has such a big population of Indians that live here now in Vancouver and those areas I talked about, Surrey and the Toronto area, looking for real estate opportunities back in India might be of interest to them because they're like expatriates, right? They may still want to go back, and maybe they want to now start buying real estate back in India, right? So there might be an opportunity to figure out how to create a market for those expatriates thinking of maybe buying real estate. And then coincidentally, one of the people we're working with, Molly, Wendy and I are working with, he was born in London, now living in Canada, but he has a lot of real estate in India, just through his lineage. And so there's going to be lots of interesting business opportunities that open up with doing business both ways, whether it's coming to Canada and the US or us going to India and figuring out how to develop and work with architects like yourself, and maybe we start doing some projects over in India as well, and we figure out how to launch that on a global basis. I'm thinking big.
Ian, in fact, a lot of architects from Singapore and UK and US are doing a lot of master planning designs over here, and they are trying to get. But again, yes, it's very important for the local architects also to get involved because they understand how the whole demographic is, the kind of habitation which is there. So there is a lot of scope in tier 2 cities also. As I said earlier, there are a lot of connectivity. Like there is a shift in real estate from Bangalore to a tier 2 city, which is called as Mysore. The connectivity is reduced by 50% by a good highway. So a lot of tech companies, a lot of IT companies are shifting their campuses onto there. But there is a lot of scope in the other cities also for tourism, and a lot of places are coming up for religious tourism or based on other industries. So there is a lot of scope of hospitality industry also over here. There is a lot of scope of for all the countries for EVs as well as for solar. Uttar Pradesh is one of the state which has got a very good scope for certain industries, and that's what our president Amresh and Molly is working very hard towards getting investors, and I think you should look into that state. And yes, of course, as we meet or as we can have a Zoom call or a call before our meeting in September, I can just brief you on the real estate, because as I said, there are a lot of things to be talked about, and we can discuss over the same.
That's fantastic. I look forward to that.
Thank you so much, Mario, and thank you, Ian. I think actually Diwakar has a question. Let me have Diwakar go out first because he was waiting for a little while. Thank you.
Hi, thank you, Mali. Ian, it's a great piece of information, insightful about Canadian markets. I am from a place called Hyderabad, a tech city, a happening city, and there are a lot of startup community built up here, tech startups, various startups. So, is there anything specific to attract startups or having a collaboration? Is that Canadian initiatives like UK has come out with the startup visa, they are aggressively promoting here. Anything that Canada is involved in?
Now, I apologize. My speaker is not very loud, so I had a hard time hearing the exact question. Molly, can you repeat it back to me? Is that possible?
Diwakar, can you explain that again?
Yeah. Am I audible now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about it. I think there was some problem with my headphones. Ayan, firstly, thank you so much for the insightful session and information about Canadian markets. I am from a place called Hyderabad in India, where we have a lot of tech innovations, and it's a tech hub upcoming place. So I just would like to understand what opportunities are there for the startups in Canada, like IT startups or innovation. UK and other countries have come out with a startup visa, and they are aggressively promoting, extending a lot of freebies, promotional activities, market enablement solutions. So is there anything similar in Canada also? You have an ecosystem for that?
Yeah, so what's interesting, and that's a really good point you make, what's interesting in Canada is that we have a lot of collaboration with Indian startups here in Canada. And even some of the big tech companies use Indian supporters or other companies to help them with their technology. And I'll give you an example. One of the big telecommunications company in Canada called TELUS, their tech resource, like even their customer services, are all based out of India. So the Canadian companies are very open to working with Indian technology companies and startups to further the relationships and build their tech companies even to the next level. So I would say, yeah, the opportunity exists, and because there's so much already Indians living here and us working with Indian tech companies, I think the future is going to be very promising to continue doing so many tech business and tech startup companies. Coincidentally, my company luxuryhomes.com, we have a number of coder or developers that work on that, and 2 of them are out of India. So I'm already working with Indian developers for helping support us over here in Canada and the US.
Which
Thank you so
location
much.
these developers are from? Which city they are from?
Oh, you know what? And I don't even know what cities they live in, but they one of the girls was here in Vancouver, and then she had to go back. She had a family tragedy, so she had to go back 6 months ago, and she's now decided she wants to still live in India, so she's going to stay there. And we just her name is Balpreet. We work with Balpreet, even though the time zones are different, because when we're working during the day, it's 3 a.m. there for us, but she is up at 3 a.m. working with us. So, there's so many great young people there, and I think in India that they want to get in the tech business, and they want to work with North American companies. And Balpreet's a good example of one of those people. She's she's probably in her mid-20s and works long hours because of the time zone differences.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ayan.
Thank you. Wendy?
Thank you, Molly. I just wanted to give a couple of comments in regards to the upcoming trade mission. As a team leader, I wanted to say that I've received a tremendous response to the people I have reached out to and invited to attend. I actually had a group literally cancel their vacation trip to Europe. These are all business professionals. They canceled their group vacation trip to go shopping and said, no, we're going to go to India, because if we go to Europe, we're going to spend money. If we go to India, we're going to make money. Literally, that's what they said, and they all canceled, and they created their own team leader group. So that happened this past week, just a week ago. And one thing I wanted to reiterate is that most of us business professionals know some sort of Indian professional, whether they're in medicine or they're in accounting, they're in so many different high-end professionals, CPAs, and just so many amazing individuals that I know, quality professionals here. And as I've shared this upcoming trade mission with them, they're so excited to hear that I'm going to visit their country. And some of them only get to go home once a year, or maybe every other few years. So they're so excited to hear about Lucknow. They're like, wow, we haven't even been to Lucknow yet. And they're telling me of the great food and the kebabs and all these great things to look forward to. So I'm very excited about that. But I also wanted to encourage everyone to think outside of real estate, even though most of us are real estate licensed and real estate focused, but really expand your invitations to other businesses, because there's a tremendous opportunity within medicine, within aviation, within boating. There's just every industry that we have here. If you have someone that wants to expand their network, either introduce them to us, and we will either represent their, what they're looking for when we go to India, or they can join one of our delegations. So thank you, Molly, for taking the leadership role of putting together this trip. This will be my first time going to India as well. And, I do have some Indian heritage in my blood on my mother's side. So I finally get to come to the motherland. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Wendy. We are all looking forward to this great event. This is an event of the century, I think. And thank you to my wonderful teams. There's a saying that if you want to go far, you go on your own. But if you want to go, if you want to go fast, you go on your own. If you want to go far, you go with a pack. So I have a very good pack. So this is a wonderful pack. So I'm very proud of them. Anybody else have questions? I think.
Thank you, Molly.
Suvita? Yes.
You have done lots of India, and you are doing that. And trust me, you are having a very good team, and definitely we are dedicated for the world. We have only one mission, and that mission is to create the employment for every individual, and we will definitely make it in our lifetime. So that's all. And when I have already said you that we are having a very good proposal from the government, and as Vanity was saying that we should look out into other industries too. Yes, definitely. We believe in that, and we are going to have a very good programs through our governments. So right now we can't inform about that, but definitely on one-to-one note, Molly will be informing you all, and we are going to have a very good international relationships, because our government is very supportive. They are supporting us in the best possible ways. And when government has a vision, being a citizen of India, I believe that I am more powerful than the CM and the PM. And becoming a powerful, it makes me a responsible person. My responsibility increases with, gaining the power. So that's all I have to say. We have taken the responsibility, and we will definitely come out with the results. And thank you for supporting us. Thank you for trusting us. We are going to have a wonderful relationships.
I agree. With that in mind, let's have Mayul do our closing for us tonight.
Thank you, Molly. And that was, I think, a very good connection, a good lead and good experience of the Canada real estate market. And would love to see you, Ian, across over here in September. And look forward for a good connection, not only in terms of real estate, but in terms of business and other things also. Would love to connect with you. And thank you, everyone, for dropping in and having a taking out your time over a Saturday weekend or Sunday early morning over here, and whichever time zone. So thanks a lot. Look forward to see you in the September as well as in the next webinar. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Molly.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ian. Thanks, Molly. Thanks, Amresh.
Thank you.
Bye
Good
bye.
night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Good night.
Good night.
Thank